Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Amanda. For those of you that are new to the channel, for those of you who've been here before, welcome back, and to family, hello. It's been a really big day. So if you'd like to come along with me and spend a few moments taken out of my day today, I've been doing everything from scratch except the soup, because the soup's made from all of these ingredients, and so it's a really quick and easy, fast way to make two different versions of the Thai pumpkin soup that I love so much, and that I can never get enough of, and I've only got one jar left on the shelf, so I needed to do some pumpkin soups as well. Also did a bit of a road trip and went and picked up some new special editions for the shelves. We're also going to do a bit of a Q&A, go through a few of the questions that the viewers and subscribers have been leaving here, been messaging, that I have been responding to, but questions like where did the jars come from, what's the deal with all of the labels, that kind of thing, where I get different products from. So we'll do a quick Q&A as well while I'm preparing some of the ingredients and recipes throughout the day, and we will just spend a day working in and out of the nook and having a look around the property a little bit. Okay, so vegetable stock. So I'm making soups, but I need vegetable stock to start with. I'll be using most of what I have in the shelf, so I might as well put all of this to use now and get the stock on before I make a start. I'm doing the two different kinds of pumpkin soup. So these are the corn cobs from processing corn earlier in the week. There are 10 cobs, which will make a nice rich vegetable stock. That I'm just simply going to add some onion. It's already been chopped up, and some left over from the pizza the other night. A few carrots. Some fresh garlic, which has been peeled. It's all our own fresh garlic. So I'll put in 10 cloves of garlic. From the garden this morning, some fresh celery. And I'll be dehydrating the rest of this. Leaves and all, it's fine. I'll take off some of the leaves. This makes the stock quite dark. Like this one. This one's got a lot of greens in it. So I'm just going to take off the green tops. They're all going into the dehydrator at the same time. So no big deal. Alright, so in the pot I've just got some celery, carrots, onion, the corn and the garlic, and now it's time to add all of the seasoning. I want a clear broth this time instead of that really dark coloured stock, which I'm going to be using for pumpkin soup later anyway, so it doesn't matter that they're darker. But these I'd like just to do a much clearer stock, more of a consommé. So I'm just going to add some salt, some dried thyme, some oregano, however you want to say it. We say oregano. I've got all these fresh growing in the garden, but because I want a really clear stock, I'm going to be using the dried versions instead, so I don't impart that really green colour. A good handful of peppercorns. Again, got bay leaves growing outside. I probably should go and get some more and start dehydrating them. Handful of them, 5 or so, and a sweet paprika. So that's enough of the seasoning. So all of that can then just be chopped up. I'll put about 10 litres of water for this quantity, and onto the stove it's going to go while I prepare for the pumpkin soup. So that's our 10 litres of vegetable stock going to be cooking away on the stove while I prepare the pumpkin soup. Two ways. I'm going to do a Thai red pumpkin soup as well as the Thai green pumpkin soup. So before I do all of the soups, which is got to be done, I'll get all of these herbs into the dehydrator. Nothing exciting about that. I've got 2 trays of celery that's ready from the garden, and I've got this basket which is my Italian parsley, so flat leaf parsley, and I've got no dehydrated parsley. at all in the pantry, so this is a job that I've been wanting to do for some time. It's the reason I've got so much parsley growing. This time of year we get whitefly here in Queensland. It attacks all of our beautiful greens, and so we don't tend to grow successfully without chemicals, which I don't want to do. What's the purpose of growing our own produce if we're using a whole heap of chemicals? So these are gorgeous. So I'm just going to pack my trays quite densely. They're all going to be ground into a powder as soon as they've been dehydrated, which is pretty quick. It usually takes about 4 or 5 hours in the dehydrator, and they're all done. But I just needed to get these in and started as well. So today has been a really busy day. So husband has been lopping all of the trees around the house. It's preparation for fire season. I asked him to do the gutters. Of course he did. And then he decided, because he was doing the gutters and because of all the trees, the lily pillies and the natives that are close to the house, he decided that that was time for them to be lopped, so he didn't have to continuously do the gutters, which is fair, I guess, as we're getting older. We are allowed to do fire breaks around the house. We are surrounded by native bushland, and we cannot do any further clearing of the property, but we can lop, which is what we've just done. Just a little bit of lopping. And so the goats are having a bit of a feed on them. So I'll insert a little clip of why we have goats here, because they save us so much time. It takes a little bit throughout the year to keep them healthy, but other than that, they are put to use as part of our working animals on the farm here. So they're very useful for doing weed control, as well as helping us after we've done some lopping, so that we don't have to take all of our trees and things like that, branches off to a tip for recycling in their wood area or greens area. Instead, we just let the goats loose, and so you'll see that. I'll put that in here while I finish this off. So, bye goats, this is what they're for. Hello? And we do some tree lopping. This is around the house. Keeps the foliage away from the gutters, but it also helps with fire problems, which we're surrounded by bushland, native bushland, and can't be managed. So we are allowed to trim and do fire breaks around the property, which we're doing at the moment. So this is part of the fire break. This is the top round yard of the house. These guys are going to strip all the foliage for us. They get a good feed out of it for the next couple of days, and then they can go back down the back, and we can chop up all of these branches for putting into the fire heap for future firewood. They're going to clear all of this for us. Alrighty, so I always get asked, I'm going to answer again here, these big jars that I have got all along my bench here, that I've got in the nook here, these big half-gallon, 2-litre jars. These are Salisbury & Co. I buy them from the kitchenwarehouse.com.au. They deliver them. I've put prices up before. We've done unboxing here before on these big jars as well. I think they're $50 for 6 of these, or 54, something like that. They're not expensive for what you're getting. Lovely quality big jars. Speaking of jars, something that never happens is Marketplace actually had some Finalizing jars that were close to me, which doesn't happen. I'm in the Redlands in South East Queensland, and for us to get Finalizing, I normally have to travel a couple of hours out past Ipswich towards Gatton area in the valley to get any sort of jars at a decent price, especially Finalizing, because they're really expensive. That said, so there was an advertisement. Yeah, it's a good box. There was an advertisement on Marketplace a couple of days ago. I thought they would have been all gone. There was 2 of these boxes in total. But these are Finalizing size 27s. I've washed them all. Size 27s, size 31s, and size 20s. There are 2 damaged ones out of the 2 crates. 36 jars in total with 2 damaged jars, this is one of them. It's damaged on the inside, not on the, so it won't affect its sealing, but it does have a chip. So I'll just be using this one for my ginger beer bug that I'm doing at the moment, so it won't be getting used for pressure canning. The rest of these are perfect. 50 cents a piece? Yeah, I know, people are just screaming at me at the moment. 50 cents a piece. Pretty good. Most of them are not the modern. You can see this one's got a bit of a golden tinge to it or an orange tinge to it. And they're stamped. They still have their crowns. So they're not the modern Fowler colas, but that's okay. Good solid glasses. Very, very rare for it to happen. My Fowler cola jars here that I use for my soups, which I will be using for soups. These jars cost me normally about between $45 and $60 a dozen. So to get them for 50 cents each was just ridiculous. So I got them all. And I will be using them to do some of the soups today. So I'm doing pumpkin soup 2 ways, green and red Thai pumpkin soup. So that's my pumpkin soup, and that's my last Thai pumpkin soup that I have got. So I definitely needed to do some more soups up. So I'm doing a stock at the moment as well. So that's okay. It is our spring, summer. It's hot here already. It is quite hot outside, but it's not hot in the house yet. And I eat soup mostly all year round anyway. So one of these lasts me about 4 days. That's my meal. And so having one on the shelf, it means by the end of the week I wouldn't have any soup available, which is not a big deal because I can make some more. So I've got a lot of veggie stocks already done, and I've got a veggie stock currently at the moment going, and I've just chopped up some of our butternuts. I grew a lot of butternuts last year. These are the last 2, and this one looks all right. This one I'm not too sure of. Oh, no, it's okay. It's fine. A really, really big one, twice the size of these. I've chopped it up ready for making the soup. These 2 can stay on my shelf. Our vines are starting to regrow. They always do regrow. So they die down over the winter time, and then they regrow here for us in spring, which means we get another crop year after year from our same vines. So we don't pull out the vines, we just chop them all back. And I do have some new seedlings in as well. But it'll be a long time before we get any more pumpkins. And so I'm going to use everything on the shelves to make my pumpkin soups today. And let's go ahead and do it because they need to be done. Alrighty, so I have celery and I have capsicum. Got some onion without any salt and lots of vegetable stock. So I'm going to use 2 saucepans, and I'm just literally going to be making the quickest pumpkin soups ever. So I'm just going to be opening up jars upon jars and putting them each in each side. So I end up with the same amount of vegetables in each one. Now, the standards for food preservation do state that as long as we have a 50% solid, no more than 50% solid ratio in our soups, then we can make soups that are not written out in pre-approved recipes, like in the ball book, for example. So what I'm making, even though I call it a pumpkin soup, it is a vegetable soup. It just contains pumpkin as well, but it's not predominantly a pumpkin soup, as you'll see with all of these different vegetables that I'm adding. These are celery water. So thinking, what is celery water? So it's basically a stock that's just been made out of celery. They were pressure canned for 25 minutes as well. So they're just full of flavour, just getting added to create a lovely vegetable stock. The onions were pressure canned for 40 minutes. Again, there's no salt and there's plenty of juices in them. Again, lots and lots of flavour. Each of these jars contains 2 brown onions. So I have the capsicums that have gone in as well, and the capsicums, the large jars contain 2 capsicums, the smaller jars contain 1, and they will pressure can for 35 minutes. So one of these jars is 2 whole sweet peppers, or capsicum as we call them, and these are 2 brown onions that have been chopped up. And I preserved 25 kilos of onion throughout the year, and disappearing from the shelves because it disappears pretty quickly because I don't have fresh onions at all now. The last of the onions went into that stock that's getting made up. All right, so that's the vegetables as well as some corn. This is sweet corn. It was preserved back in June. Now, the sweet corn are whole kernels, and I don't need the full jar in here. Just get a spoon. This is a kilo of corn. I'm just going to drain out the liquid into both. Again, it's just for flavour. And then I will distribute the corn between the two of them evenly. And then to that, I simply need to add the pumpkin. Now, measuring out what I've used, that's why I keep all my jars. I measure out what I've used. So a pint, 2 half pints, and another pint for the corn. So far I've got 4 pints of solids, and then to that I need to add my pumpkin, which has all been chopped up ready as well. So I'll do that. So that was just 1 butternut pumpkin. It was a big pumpkin. Okay, vegetable stocks. So I've got, we'll say 5 pints of solids. So I need a total of 10 of liquid, and these are 8-litre pots, and there's already a lot of liquid in the bottom of each of these saucepans from the different jars that we've opened. There's plenty of liquid already in the bottom of them. I'm going to fill them to the top. Now, the vegetable stock, this is the last that was done back in June, so definitely could do with doing some more. There's 2 types of stock, this very green variety, which would contain a lot of celery, and then a really dark variety, which will contain a lot of the onion skins as well. So the smaller pints were pressure canned for 25 minutes, the larger ones 35 minutes, and this is the end of them. So once these have gone in, I need to replenish my stock, vegetable stock, which is why we are making more today. How many jars I'm using? Right. And out of all of these soups, because each of these saucepans that are going to be full, or stock pots that will be filled with the pumpkin soup, each of these are 8-litre stock pots. So I should get enough pumpkin soup. Don't want all of that sediment. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. I just am trying for a lighter soup. So if I don't have enough, which I do, that should be okay. Alrighty. Might just get a quart of water. Now, I do blend my pumpkin and vegetable soup. So if you don't want to blend it, that's okay. You don't have to. It's just I blend it into a jar. It doesn't last very long in jars for us. It's not a thick soup. It's very viscous, just like the tomato soup. So it's very much a very thin soup, just like the tomato soup. So it does get blended up. It's just one more step that I don't have to do. Very thin soup. So I'm not worried about how dense it is when I'm doing the pressure canning, and I do pressure can them for a very long period of time. All right, so that's my 2 soups, and I've emptied 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 jars. Oh, hello. We missed 1 vegetable stock. We might add that. No, I might leave that. Keep that. No, I'm going to add it. See what I mean? I can't decide what I'm going to do today. I'll take it over to the stove. Okay, both of the soups are on the stove, and one will get red Thai paste, one will get the green Thai paste. So as soon as that comes up to simmer, I'll add that and add some spices to them as well. But that was the main thing, getting them done. All right, bit of Q&A stuff going on here now. Just because of a lot of the comments that I've been having a look at, and I've been answering them online as well, but I figured while I was here, I would do the same for you guys as well and go through a few. Okay, so I've already discussed these jars, the big ones. They come from chemistwarehouse.com, and they're the Salisbury & Co. jars. This one, another question was this one, the little passata compared to the large passata. Of course, I've just moved all the large passatas up to the top shelf, but yep, I still have some down below, so we can compare the different sizes of them. As I say, these smaller ones are 450 mils, and then you have your standard passata bottle. So this is a standard passata, and this is the smaller passata bottle that I use for the syrups or when I'm doing sauces. Okay, so that's the 2. That one, like I said, is a Salisbury & Co. old-fashioned range, and it's got the ribs. You'll see these ribs on a lot of the jars. Any of the ones with the ribbing is the Salisbury and Co. old-fashioned variety. And I've got a lot of them because they're my favourite jar. Other than the size 27 fowl of the cola, which I now have oodles and oodles of, thank goodness, so I can make up some soups. Didn't mean to sigh like that, sorry, it's been a day. Labels. I got asked about these in a couple of posts. These are dissolvable food labels. That's why I'm using them, because they will dissolve within water, versus these ones, which are perfect for gifting, but they don't dissolve, and they're really annoying actually to get off, and they leave that sticky residue, which is just a pain to get off my jars. So these are dissolvable food labels. You can pick them up in lots of places. Ball have their own variety. This particular ones are from Amazon. Nothing special. I don't know where they come from. They're just called dissolvable food labels. And these ones were not expensive, so I figured, because my husband gets confused when he comes into the pantry and he doesn't know the difference between whole strawberry, strawberry conserve and strawberry jam or strawberry syrup, because nothing's labelled. They are written on the lids, but if you stand here and you look at 20 plus shelves, it's a bit difficult for him to just walk up and find. I'll tell him where it is because I know exactly where most things are, but he doesn't know the difference between a blueberry and a strawberry when they're in jars, because the blueberries and the strawberry conserve do look very similar in colour. So I just, I just label them. They are written on the lids as well, but, he's a man. He stands there and looks and doesn't go any further than that and just gets confused and doesn't understand. And these are my strawberry pots, so, they're for him to take to work. Alrighty, so that was the labels. I've got the dehydrator on at the moment. I've done the sauces. And now I need to move on to the next job. So I have all my small jars ready to be filled with apples, and it's not apple season, but I do have my big can of apples. So people often ask me, why do I recan? Pretty simply because we don't grow apples. We don't have the cold enough climate here in the southeast to grow them, and which means that apples have to come from a long distance anyway. These are available to us locally at an outlet. They're not expensive. This can cost me about $4 when it was purchased, and recanning them is simply done in a water bath. The stove is on. I have one spare element, so why not? We might as well get this job done as well. So I just simply need to open this up and transfer the contents into a saucepan and heat them up, and I will be pureeing them because these will be for baby food. I will keep some whole as well and put them into cans or little jars separately and have them whole for apple pies or apple crumbles, etc. throughout the year. Apple and cinnamon slices. So I will keep some of them whole, but the majority of them will all be pureed up for baby food because my little grandson loves these, and he's got none left. We can't have that. So we need to be doing some apples. I've done peaches and I have pears, but I am completely out of apples. So we will be on to recanning some apples. Saves a ton of money, saves a ton of time. Everything today is quick and simple jobs that do not take long to do. Like the soups have all been made with jars that I already have. Because this is a working pantry at the end of my kitchen, it is the nook, and so it is an extension of what would be normally found in people's pantries in cans, except it just happens to be all over the place. Another question I always have somebody ask me about is how bright it is in here. I'm bright because I've got a fluorescent light above me while I'm working in this spot. I do not normally have the fluorescent light on in this room. The room has a single window in the middle of the shelves, if you know what my nook looks like, but I will show you. There is a single small window between those shelves. There's no direct sun on the house. So there's no direct sun. This is a, what facing is it? East, west. It's probably north facing, but I have a massive tree out the back there. This is how it looks with my lights on, and that's what it looks like without them on. It's a very dark room. Very little light is in this part of the nook, and that's with the nook light on. Huge difference. So light off, light on. I'm going to leave the light on so I can work. So that's why my produce at the back here works pretty well. I also have a wraparound sleep area. This is an old farmhouse. For those of us that live in Australia, think 1950s stucco farmhouse, okay? Built on stilts, flat at the top. a metre high at the back because it's on cement stilts. It was timber stilts, but they've all been replaced now. So there was cement stilts, a metre between me and the ground underneath me because of the water flow that runs through the property. So it's cool inside here always. I'm wearing long sleeves and it's hot outside, but it's not hot inside here. It's a good 10 degrees cooler inside this house because of the stucco design, which is cement design around the house. It's an old farmhouse. It has no windows in the main part of the building, if that makes sense. The house has been wrapped around itself repeatedly over the decades. And so in the 50s, when it was first built, it was a small bedroom cottage. Then it was rebuilt in the 70s and the 80s afterwards that. And so there are wraparound sections. And so the outside of the house is actually our main wall that runs through the main part of the home in the centre. So that's a big stucco wall all the way through, and then it steps down into a sleep out area, which is completely better blocked all the way around and surrounded, and no windows. So it's completely dark and cold. So a perfect cellar style situation, which is the room behind the kitchen as well, which is just a bomb site. We can't go in there at the moment until I get that all sorted out. But that'll be where I'll be keeping some of the, and it's where I keep some of the long life products in barrels and things like that. So that's where I store stuff. But yeah, that's why my shelves are the way that they are. Alrighty, so onto the apples. So just like always, when I'm doing any preservation of any of the food, I always search up my times. This is the reason that I write the times on my lids of my jars so that I don't have to do this one step of searching for a time of something really simple like I just want to can just apples. So looking at apples, I've got apple juice, got 100 different ways of doing apples, but I just want apples, straight apples, no big deal. Canning apples, canning juice, sauce. Technically it's going to be sauce, so we'll just go with that. So 39 because I am blending it up. So applesauce, processing pints for 15 minutes in quarts in a water bath. 20 minutes for quarts, 15 for pints, and I do half pints, so it's still 15 minutes, but at least I'll keep that out and move on to doing my apples. So when I buy apples, I make sure that they are pure apples and they don't contain anything except apples and juices. No added flavours, colours or preservatives are added to these cans. So they do have an absorbic acid in them, not a big deal, and that's it. Yep, that's it. All right. So apples plus juice. So very simply just going to open up my apples and reprocess them. I'm just going to do half of them and puree them. And like I said, I'll just keep aside some of the pieces still and put them into, I will put them into pint jars since I have to process pint and quart and half pints for the same amount of time. So I've got a few pint jars spare now that we've opened so many jars today, and I won't be recanning with them at the moment. So I will grab some pint jars and put some of these beautiful apple slices. Look at them. And I haven't had to do any peeling, cleaning, anything, and I'm not all sticky yet, which is really good. So it saves us a bit of time and money as well, more importantly money. No power needed, no time needed, and so it's a very quick way for me to make up some pureed baby food for my little grandson, as well as have some apples still reserved for us for later. All right, back to the food labels quickly. This one I've had soaking for a couple of minutes while I've been chatting. This is just one of the celeries that I just opened for the soup. Look at that. Just comes straight off. It's so easy and it doesn't leave all that horrible residue behind, so that's great. Easily remove it, and then it would dissolve even more if I left it in the water longer. It's only been sitting for a couple of minutes, but it just comes off so much easier. And if I just leave it in the sink, it just disappears. Beautiful. All right, back to the apples because I need these for apples. Alrighty then, so I have my pint jars ready. So I'm just going to keep 3 aside. The rest of it I'm going to transfer into the saucepan because I'm going to be pureeing all of them as well. And then all of these apples are obviously going to need a syrup. So I'm just going to use water. And I'm just going to fill to the, and leave a 1-inch headspace. and then just make sure they've got no bubbles in them before I seal them up. But they're going into the water bath, into a water canner. And that'll be my final element on the stove, filled up as well. Right, so they're done. I just need their tops on. This one's going to go on the element, and it's going to heat back up again so it can be pureed, and then I can transfer the pureed apples into the smaller jars so that I can have them for baby food. So I'm going to add my red Thai paste to this one, my green Thai paste to that one. My apples are cooking at the moment, and our stock is just also coming up to temperature as well. The stock's going to cook on the stove for about 2 to 3 hours, and I'm just going to leave that going at a simmer. I don't want to roll the boil too much because I want a nice clean stock. These ones, however, are ready. These are the soups, so this is the first one. So I'm going to add my Thai ingredients to this one. So Thai red curry paste into this one, and some hot paprika, which I love to add to my soup as well. Okay, so this one's getting the red Thai curry paste, just a couple of tablespoons of that. This one's going to get the green Thai curry paste added to it, and I'm going to use 200 grams of that Thai curry, the green Thai curry paste, and the rest of this bucket has now been put into individual Ziploc bags, and I'm going to freeze that so that I don't, and they're done up into the serving sizes for each of these soups, so that way that product's not wasted, because it was a commercial size from a local kitchen that had closed down. So instead of losing all of that curry paste, I figured I will put it in the freezer. Alright, so that's my soups underway. My apples are bubbling as well over there, so they're almost ready to blend up, and I just need to add some hot paprika to this one. And I won't add too much because I usually put way too much in because it's really spicy. That one's one of the ones that we've made using our chilies from the garden. Alrighty, let those cook away until they're ready, but my apples will be ready first. So I will get on to getting the jars organised for them and move on to that job and get this all finished. With all of these cooking, my power is sky high right this moment. So the sooner these are cooked, which will be when the pumpkins are ready, because I do have to pressure can these soups. So as soon as these pumpkins are ready, so it takes about half an hour, then I can turn off these 2 soup burners, and by then I can replace them with a water bath canner and a pressure canner instead. They look pretty good, don't they? All from cans or jars, and they've taken no time to prepare. Much better when they are in jars though, and it's already prepared for me. Then it takes even less time, 3.5 minutes in the microwave for every bowl. Alrighty, onto the apples. Alrighty, so the apple is finished. I've just used an immersion blender and just blended it all with its juices, and it's just ready to go into my jars. So I've got half-pint jars, and I've got some even smaller jars as well. They're all going to get processed for the same amount of time. They're all going to get done for the 15 minutes, along with the pints as well. So I will fill up all my jars and get this into a water bath, and then that's that job done. And by then it'll be time to blend up my vegetable soups and get them into jars ready for the pressure canner as well. Alrighty, so the apple sauces or the pureed apples are in the water bath canner. Just starting their processing time. I have just finished pureeing these soups, or using an immersion blender. This is the red Thai vegetable soup that contains the pumpkin squash. So it's a very, very loose soup. It's not thick at all. It's not a puree at all. So this particular one, after I've finished doing all of the immersion blending, just need to stir it through just to get all the little tiny air bubbles out. The green one absolutely packs a punch. I've tasted that one, and the red one is fiery hot. So I have 2 very different tasting soups. This one is more salty from the green Thai paste that I've used for this one versus the other one that has just not got any added salt in it. So that one's a very salty soup compared to this one. This one I need to reserve a bowl of for the salmon for today's meal. And then I'll get on to filling all of Finalizing jars for, I'll be doing the number 27s and a couple of, I'll do one each of the 20s as well. But most of these will go into the 27s for the shelf. I'll do that now. while the water bath canner is dealing with the pureed apples and the apple pieces as well. Alrighty, so I've got my new rubber rings on, and I'm just continuing to fill up to the green Thai curry soup at the moment. So I'm just filling the 27s, the Finalizing. I give them a lot more headspace than what they recommend as far as when I'm doing Finalizing. I don't go above that shoulder. So I find anything in this area may siphon. I don't particularly want siphoning, obviously, so I tend to keep my liquids lower, especially when doing this soup from experience. I tend to keep it on the lower side. So this particular one, I've just gone slightly over. So I'm just going to take a spoonful of that out. Less is better than more. Putting on my rings when they're cold is what I prefer to do before I add the hot soup, because the jars get hot, and I find it's more difficult for me to get the bands on the jars when I've got a hot boiling liquid in there as well. So, but everyone does it a different way. You can soak your rings, your bands, and soften them that way as well. I don't find it makes any difference. I haven't been doing it long enough. But Finalizing is not something I do a lot of. My auntie, however, hi Jan, she does an awful lot. Has done for decades, Finalizing. And I got a beautiful stack of jars for her not that long ago, for a really, really good price as well. A whole assortment of sizes and some really rare ones. So they were always sent up to far north Queensland. And if I'd only known back then how much I love this size 27, I might have been able to keep some of them. But I'm not even sure if there was 27s in the lot that went up. But anyway, so I end up with 4 of the 27s and 1 of the 20s with each of the soups, which is heaps. And I've also got a bowl reserved as well for dinner. It's a shame that one's not full. All right, so that one I'm just going to put on, take that band off. So I don't have any of the green reserve, so I'll just put on one of the plastic lids instead, and that one can go in the refrigerator instead of getting pressure canned, and that one will be the meal for later in the week. Okay, so I have 10 jars in total that I'll be pressure canning. So 8 of the big 27s and 2 of the smaller number 20s. So I just need to put new tops. I've got stainless steel tops on the top of each of these and get my pressure canner up to temperature, same temperature as what these are, which is still quite hot. Just waiting on the water canner to finish because I've still got the stock on the stove as well. So I have a lot of things on the stove today, a lot more than I normally would do. But just putting all these on it, and then I'll get my clips and clip them as well. It's a bit loose. I'm not sure about that one. Might be all right. I have new tops, new lids, which I've been clean because they've still got their oil. That one's been washed. Yeah, these need washing. They've still got their oil coating on them, which just keeps them from corroding in their boxes. And then onto the clips. Now, 1 clip or 2. This is a controversial. I love canning because there's always different answer, and so many people have got different responses. And personally, because I've not been doing it for very long, I thought, oh yeah, I'll follow the standards set by the company as far as how many clips are required, and the answer was 1. That being said, they also said not for pressure canning. So it's 1 clip for water bathing using the Fowler method, not putting these into a pressure canner, which increases the pressure. And because of those rubber rings in underneath and the pressure of the canners, I find the lids flip a little. So I noticed with the first couple of batches that I did, not all of them, just a few, maybe 2 out of each batch, 1 or 2 out of each batch were flipping. They were still sealed, but they were skew-effed a bit. And I don't think I've got any more that I could show that are just that way. Because when it started to happen, just checking the shelf, when it started to happen, I decided, no, none of them, decided to start double clipping the tops instead. So they seem to lift where there wasn't a clip, if that makes sense. So there's a clip here, for example, running this way. They tend to tilt this way. So I started adding a second clip and crossing it over, because a lot of people with older clips do use the 2-clip method. So I started being really careful and making sure I had 2 very well positioned clips instead. And then I didn't get any lifting of the lids during the pressure canning part. And on the pressure canning forum, other people had asked also 1 or 2. And when that happens, when you do ask that question, you're just opening up a can of worms, because everyone will have an opinion, whether it's supposed to be 1 or supposed to be 2. And the Fowler, like I said, the Fowler's recommendation, the company itself, is you only need to have 1. But if your clip is slightly stretched from use, if it's older, these are not, these are nice and tight. If it's an older clip and it's lost its stretch, so to speak, or it's overstretched, then does it hurt to use 2 clips? Does it hurt to use 2 clips in the long run anyway? I don't think it does. And remembering, when these go into that pressure canner, that's it. The lid is on and you're done. You cannot open unless you want to start your times all over again. And these have got quite a long processing time, these soups. So I want to make certain that each and every one of them is well secured with their new bands, these have got new tops because these are new jars for me. So I did buy and have in my store some new tops. So they have new stainless steel tops. Clips I've used before, but I also have got boxes as well. And these are all new old stock, which is really great. These have come from, I think, somewhere down in New South Wales from memory. They were advertised on the Fowler Vicola page, and they were a really good price. So I grabbed the ones that I know that I use the most, which is my size 3, which is for 27s and 20s. That's why I like the 27s and the 20s, because they all have got the same size. It's great. Just a simple size 2. No big deal. Sorry, size 3. The ring, the lid, and the band, all size 3. So it's perfect. And if I just keep to just this size in the Fowler Vicola, if I just keep to the 20s and the 27s, then I'll be good, because I don't want a million different sizes. Alrighty, all done. I have 10. I have 4 of my green, 4 of my red, and 2 of the smaller ones, all going into the pressure canner now that I can get the apples off as well. And today, and that will just about be the end of it. So I'll just put a picture of these after they've been processed. But they look like, I really don't have to put a picture. That's how they come out. Beautiful. So yes, that's the pumpkin soup. Rightio, so the timer's gone off for removing my apples, but they're all done. And I have my jars of pumpkin soup all added to the pressure canner. Now, I could fit 1 more in here, but then I've got 1 left over. So this canner, the Presto canner, can fit 9, I think it is, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1 more. So with these round size 27s, or the round Fowler Vicola jars, I can fit one of these off to the side and then another smaller one in the middle, but then I've just got 1 left over. So processing time is 75 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wiggle these around, and I'm just going to add the extra jar. So that gives me 8 of the 27s and one of the 20s. It just means that I've got a single 120 that I'm just going to have to put a lid on, and it's going to go in the refrigerator as well, which is fine. It will last as long as the time that it's in the refrigerator for, and I won't need to take any of these off a shelf. So these now just need the top on. Now what I'm going to do is transfer all of that boiling water from this canner over into this one. Saves time heating it up and money as well. Okay, so I've added 3 quarts to the bottom of the pressure canner of that hot water from the water bath canner so as not to waste it. Now the lid can go on and it can get turned on, which it's on now. Just need to bring it up to pressure, and I'm going to pressurize the canner, and then once it reaches the correct pressure after it's been vented, I'm going to cook these for 75 minutes. There's our apples, which is what we started doing earlier on. Veggie stock I just need to take off now, but that's the end of a big day of doing some pressure canning. So let me know whether or not you are a water bath canner or a pressure canner. Pressure canner. Either way, whether you prefer water bath or pressure canning for your preserving of all of your different produce. Look at it all. This is part of the pantry. Lots and lots of products on the shelves. And now I've got soups to add to it as well. I'll come back when the soups are finished and just pop a picture up of them once they're done. But they're in the pressure canner now for the next 75 minutes. And the dehydrator is still going with all of what we started with, our parsley and our celery earlier. So it hasn't taken a huge amount of time today to get all of these jobs done. Alrighty, but I still have work to do outside with those goats. Alright, thanks very much for joining me. Leave a comment, let me know where you're from, and we'll be back soon. Bye now. Enjoy the rest of your day or your week while we continue to get our jobs done. Bye now.